Taylor Swift. Marriage denied. Hello, I'm H.G. Tudor. Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce remain in a relationship. It is a situation of two narcissists coming together. One is aware, the other is an unaware narcissist. So far, the relationship has endured, in part as a consequence of the fact that they're not spending all of their time together, which means that Travis Kelce is less likely to offend Taylor Swift's need for control and vice versa. Taylor Swift, of course, has an interesting track record when it comes to intimate relationships, part of which I have analysed in the past. And there's been speculation, given the supposed strength of their relationship, that marriage might be on the cards. But according to the international news and the enigmatically named Web Desk, Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce are not exchanging rings shortly, claimed an insider. As reported by Us Weekly, the NFL athlete has no plans on proposing to her globally known, or rather to his globally known Lady Love. The source shared, it's not even on his radar. Marriage is something he takes very seriously, and not something he would ever just jump into without giving it some careful consideration. An insider noted that Kelce cares deeply about Swift, however, he feels it is not the right time to propose to the singer. These comments came after Swift and Kelce's romantic Lake Como getaway, which has sparked the rumours of their engagement. In the viral photos, the lovebirds can be seen enjoying their private candlelight dinner and late-night strolls to mark their 1-year anniversary. However, previously a news source told the above-mentioned outlet that the couple has no plans on getting engaged this summer. Things between them are going amazing, but they haven't even been together for a year yet and still have so much to learn about each other. Now, marriage is something in certain relationships involving a narcissist that comes along rather quickly. Sometimes it's mentioned for the purpose of future faking. I can't wait to marry you. I'd love to marry you. I can't wait until I make you my wife, my husband. This, of course, is done by using a future event to control the now and to draw a response from the victim by way of fuel. In other instances, the narcissist moves quickly to marriage. There are instances of people becoming engaged within weeks of meeting one another and married soon thereafter. To the non-narcissist, it may seem rather quick, but they're caught up in this amazing whirlwind with this brilliant person, and they wouldn't want to lose the opportunity to make things more solid by marrying them. But of course, to the narcissist, marriage is simply a device. It's a device to enable the narcissist to get what the narcissist requires. Marriage is simply a means of the narcissist asserting control. The idea that two people who want to spend the rest of their days together, well, the concept is one that this other person is so important to you that you wish to pledge your fidelity, allegiance, and your entire self to your significant other before whichever personal god you worship. Notwithstanding the differing ways weddings occur, it remains a joyous occasion and one to which many people aspire, with differing ideas of how the day will look and feel. The narcissist often marries more than once. And you might think that the narcissist is a particular devotee of the concept of marriage. And in some respects, that's correct, but not for the reasons that many people would realise. You see, marriage is a brilliant device for future faking. Those who are love devotees, which includes many empathic people, they want to marry. The concept of marriage is important to them. They consider the act of union with the person that they love to be hugely significant and a true marker of intent and desire. Our kind utilise the significance that is attributed to marriage as the means by which we can continue to draw people to us and also keep them bound to us, even if we haven't married them. The promise of marriage at some future point is a definite ace to play to prevent an appliance from drifting away. Whether this is an intimate partner primary source that the narcissist lives with, or a candidate intimate partner secondary source that the narcissist has high hopes for, or even a shelf intimate partner secondary source who has not unsurprisingly worked out what they are, the potential to become married is tempting indeed to that victim. The promise of marriage becomes a large comfort crumb to feed to the appliance and would involve sentences such as, "I think we should get married at some point. When I get the next promotion, I think we should consider getting married. We ought to get married next year. When someone is as happy as you and I, we really ought to be married. I often think about what it would be like to be married. Can you imagine how great it would be if we got married?" There is, however, no proposal of marriage, no definite confirmation that this should take place, but rather a vague and amorphous intention which can easily be put back should the narcissist choose to, so that the narcissist can keep using that as a tempting morsel to keep you interested. It may well be the case that whilst Travis Kelce is suggesting that marriage is not on the cards, that doesn't mean to say that he hasn't suggested it in relation to Taylor Swift. I very much doubt that Taylor Swift has utilised the idea of marriage. In actual fact, it seems to me that for the most part, that she won't go down that route because she would actually see it as a potential shackle upon her. She doesn't need to marry someone to control them. As a greater narcissist, she has an array of other abilities which will enable her to get the control and fuel the character traits and residual benefits that she requires. She doesn't need to marry somebody. But for Travis Kelce, being an unaware narcissist and lower down the scale in terms of evolution, playing the marriage card is something that is much more likely for him, although at this juncture it's being suggested that he's not going to do it. It might be the case, of course, that whilst he hasn't expressly stated, "let's get married," he may well, of course, be engaging in some future faking. For instance, he might cause Taylor Swift to look at engagement rings but never buy one. He might talk about potential wedding venues but never go any further than that. It might be the case of talking about where they could go on honeymoon, for instance, talking about how beautiful Lake Como is. Wouldn't this make a wonderful honeymoon destination? The possibility that he could talk to family and friends about the fact that one day he'd like to marry her. It might be the case that he'd draw up potential guest lists but never do anything with it. Consideration of where to have the wedding list, what items to have on that list. Discussions of what the wedding would look like. All of this is future faking, and one could imagine that he may well engage in that whilst not necessarily moving to the next stage, because if it allows him to gain a favourable response from Taylor Swift, then she's demonstrating control. Marriage, of course, is extremely effective at binding an intimate partner primary source to the narcissist. The narcissist wants to ensure that that person belongs to the narcissist, is owned by the narcissist, and therefore by becoming engaged and getting married within a short time of meeting the intimate partner primary source, the narcissist secures the individual and binds them to the narcissist through the institution of marriage. The appliance is made to feel ultra special by the narcissist proposing to them and then marrying them. It's only been a year for Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, and it yet might happen. But often it takes place well within the year because the victim has been rushed off their feet by the behaviour of the narcissist to bring them under control. The concept of marriage, of course, reinforces the concept of love, which appeals to an empathic love devotee. Now, both Swift and Kelce will be absent that empathic trait, but notwithstanding, he, as an unaware narcissist, will believe in the concept of love. She knows that she doesn't, but uses it cynically and callously as a device to ensnare people and, of course, to sell records. Often the narcissist will use a facade because being married tells the world that the narcissist can attract somebody, that somebody loves them, that they're desirable. It has connotations of stability and reliability and is such as a useful device for bolstering the facade because that individual is regarded as respectable and honourable. Thus, there's something that's often done by narcissists to manage that facade. So far, this is not something that Kelce or Swift have felt necessary to do, probably because Swift believes that she has a facade already that doesn't necessitate having to move to marriage. There's also, of course, for her perspective, the level of wealth that she enjoys, that she would be unlikely to want to share in all of that, with the risk of divorce. Of course, there are prenuptial agreements that would undoubtedly be used by her were she ever to go down the route of marriage. But again, she's less likely to do so because whilst marriage does serve a number of purposes to narcissists, for her, it isn't something that she needs necessarily do. Of the two of them, Kelce is the one that's more likely to want to get married than her. She finds it far easier to control him. She has a much larger fuel matrix. She doesn't need the device of marriage as much as he might do. There are the various things that she can obtain without having to go down the route of marriage. But nevertheless, should he speak of it to her, that will of course please her because it will demonstrate that he's under control, despite the fact, of course, that through mentioning marriage, he is attempting to control her. There is a denial that marriage is going to take place at the current time. Nevertheless, the fact is that while she will be in no rush to get married, after all, there's never been any real suggestion of it in any of her previous relationships. For him, it's likely to be a device that he would use. It could be the case, of course, that she has already intimated to him that she's not interested, or where he's made tentative noises in that regard, she's rebuffed him gently. I don't see that she needs to utilize the device of marriage. He does, but it's likely that his narcissism is biding its time because it's picking up on the signals that at this juncture Taylor Swift isn't interested. But there'll come a point where he's likely to push for this should he remain interested in the relationship, because he'll want to bring her under control, and the benefits to him of marrying her are greater than the benefits than she would experience in marrying him. Thus, of the two, whilst it's been denied for now, he is the one that'd be more likely to want to marry her than the other way around. I'm H.G. Tudor. Thank you for listening.